So hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk about the power of playtesting because this year I've made this Cookie Monster game for Next, and I'm happy to share with you all like what went through the process. So a little bit about me. I'm Dickson, and I start my career as a hobbyist game developer, and I have made more than 20 games in various game jams, but they are all prototypes and probably unfinished. So you can see we have QWOP, we have platformer, 3D action, and we also made a party game where you use the cell phone to play on the TV. So this year I have joined Next, and I have begun to finally ship games. I think the best thing that I learned in Next is that we finally have some playtesting and done in pretty good results. So let's start with seeing what this game is about. So this game is a motion game for kids. So small kids, maybe 4 to 6 or 11, they would play puzzle games, and then they would use the body to control these kind of widgets or like game elements. And then they would like navigate through the physics environment and sort the cookies into the correct boxes. So for example here, like if you roll the chocolate cookie, then it is wrong, and then you would need to cooperate to actually sort it to the correct places.
Wow, that's some great teamwork.
And then, yeah, I think this game is pretty good because it actually gets people to cooperate and also be active. The first thing when we talk about playtest is obviously this really good video. So don't worry, I'm not going to do better than him, but I will just share what actually happened that I think is really good. So the key point to take away is actually do playtest and playtest with real players, and also playtest early because you never know like what happens when you play with real players. So let's start with a simple exercise. How difficult would this level design be for 6-year-olds? So for example, in this level design, you can see you scoop the cookies up and then it rolls to the right? And then all the players need to put their hands up or put their hands down, and then these blocks will just slide up and down. And then they just slide to the end. So how difficult do you think it would be? Believe it or not, it's actually medium. So what about this one? You do a steady bridge, you would like tilt your body side to side, and then the seesaw will also tilt to according to you. And then you can choose to either roll it to the far end or you leave it open and then just fall it down. Is it medium or is it hard? In reality, because it is not the extreme case, like when you do the whole slope thing, you don't go all the way leaning. So it's proven to be very hard for the kids to actually be that precise when they control this widget. Okay, this third one, maze of thought. So you just put your hands one side and then put the hand the other side. You simply just kick the cookie to the left or the right, and then you just fall down and then for the next player. But each player is only controlling one thing at a time. Like how difficult can it be? It's very hard because when you want the players to actually like put it to the right, they first have to counterintuitively put the hand to the left first, let the cookie go down, and then you shove it to the right. So a very simple action like that we think is second nature to us is actually a very difficult task for little kids as young as maybe 4 to 5 years old. So I think that without playtesting with these players, I would never get it right. So the first thing that I want to share is playtest with the real audience. So obviously, at Next, we know our audience. We want to be very focused on delivering the play to our audience. So we want to serve players as young as 4-year-old and also make it very interesting for 13-year-old and above. We also have games for adults, maybe some gym exercise things, and also some meditation experiences. But mainly, I think we still want to serve of this age because they get to be very active and they will learn new things when they play this game. So when we do our playtest sessions, we will cooperate with community centers. And this year, we also have parents coming up to our office to playtest with their kids. So we are expanding our playtest audiences, and ultimately when we go so close to them, they give really good feedback about what we are going to do on the next game. So that's for our commercial games, but I think that it also applies for non-commercial games, because even if you don't want to make money out of a game, you still have a specific audience that you want to serve, and this audience will understand your game better. So I think knowing your audience and reaching out to them early is still very good for you. Also, one thing about playtesting with the correct audience is that we here have a lot of experience on game design, so we have our design language that we will speak. But when playtesting with real players, they don't design game on a daily basis. So it's really hard to actually listen to what they say and get things out of it. I think observe whether they are engaged or not, and then see where the hiccup points are. These are the things that are different before I join Next and after I join Next. So that is playtesting with the real audience. And the second thing I want to share is to playtest early. How early may you? I think you would all ask the same question. Well, what are the things that are needed for the first playtest? I've already filled in the two most obvious stuff for you. So basic game loop, obviously, and everyone says we just start with placeholder graphics and then that's it, right? But there is one thing between playtesters and this question mark. So I would come back to this later. So a little bit history about how we did Cookie Factory. So first we wanted to start with a goal. So it would be an educational game for small kids. And then we say, because it is a Sesame Street title, we actually target preschool kids. So they will be 3 to 6 years old. And then we try to teach them logic. So we have listed a lot of different topics that we want them to learn. And then we start to play test with kids. So these are some of the early prototypes. You can see like this command style shooting cookies out of your hand and then try to shoot at the correct box. And then we also did this fluid simulation, like you want to mix colors. And then we also have a scoop, and then you will scoop up the balls and then just sort them in the correct order. And then you can like jump on the correct button, and then it would just dispense some of the ice creams, and then you try to like do it to the correct ordering. And then we also have this like dropping cookies from the top, and then you just slide this to the box. So this game is extremely simple, right? You just sort the cookies left or right. So we try to playtest this game with community center kids and then see if they actually understand the game. And obviously, it's too difficult, even for a 5-year-old kid. This is actually the first ever kid that I did playtest with, and it was super frustrating. The kid would just stand in front of the TV, totally petrified, and then look back at me. I don't know what this game is about. So, well, we fail fast, basically. And we also concluded that the control is two-dimensional. And we thought two-dimensional is okay, it's actually not okay. So later on, we actually pivoted away from doing like this kind of very realistic, well, semi-realistic experience. So I like this quote from GMTK, playtesting a session at the time until it was no longer excruciatingly painful to watch the playtest. So we have released 2 games this year, and I've experienced excruciating pain 2 times in a row. But we try to iterate the game over and over until it is no longer painful and hopefully get something out of it. But for this Cookie Factory game, we actually pivoted. We try to reuse our content more because you see in old mini games, you can't really combine the game mechanics to become some more content. So we try to pivot until we can do something that has combinations. And then we ditch the two-dimensional gameplay because it is too difficult to understand, and I don't know why. Here are our references. You can see some really familiar stuff here. So this game here is Astrobot. I find this widget particularly matching our game, so I also copy that. And then Jumpbot is a bit more puzzly, side-scrolling-y. I also have some of my inspiration from that. And then cut the rope is like catching the jet tips kind of race. So after we decided to do our pivot, I did this in 1 week. This is the prototype, the very first prototype that is done. So you can see I just make some 2D physics and then I just map the hand gesture into moving the blocks. And then the Unity physics engine is already pretty nice. It transferred the force correctly and then the rolling all done correctly, and then I already get something that is playable. But there is also one next thing is we always forget that playtesters are also real players. If we get this thing for them to play, it's okay for a game developer because they would look past a lot of the imperfections and then just focus on the game mechanics. But we actually add some more polish to the game until it is about this quality. And this is the actual game that we let the playtesters play. So you can see like the correct game loop is already here. And then we also have like real simple feedback, but it is still missing one thing that makes it actually able to be given to players. And I'm sure nobody will know this because this video is muted. We still miss sound effects and background music. So both of these are really important before we ship it to the kids. So yeah, after that, the kids finally understand how to play the game because it is simple enough for them to control. And because here, the correct answer is always the higher extreme or the lower extreme, it is not difficult for them to execute. And these are some of the observations that we can only see from playing with real kids. So yeah, what are needed is the third part is actually a very good game feedback. So important to let the players know whether they did correctly or they did wrong. And how to do this really simply and very efficiently is another topic for another time. So what's not needed here, I say real graphics, real stuff, is also actually dependent on your game. If you're making a visual novel, obviously you don't need that much sound effect and all the other stuff. What you would be aiming is instead is a very crude, very first draft of your novel. So it really depends, but in our case, it would be this stuff. So the message here is, well, playtest early, but you still need to like take care of little stuff that makes your game actually work. So here I would introduce some of the playtests that we actually do at our office. So the playtest that I've just shared will be the first one, like whether the mechanics are fun or not. So after we actually find a fun mechanic, then we will do a deeper polishing. That's where the level design playtests are for. We would try to playtest different levels with kids that are new to the game, and then also they already understand the game a little bit more. And when the difficulty, readability, and challenge, maybe the game loop mostly done, then we will focus really hard on the onboarding experience. Because for a game to leave a lasting impression on the player, we only get one chance. So we will test our onboarding experience like as soon as we nail on the designs. Then we will try to see whether they actually understand the game after they play the onboarding experience. In other words, like if there are some mechanics that they don't understand in the first try, then we will try to make that work. Well, sometimes that also didn't work. That's also another story. So for the playtesting work that we do, we also like do the exact same thing. That is the scientific method. So you start with a problem, and then you have some hypothesis. You think something will solve this problem, or you will say something is fun because of something. Then you will test this whole thing, whether this is true or not, by designing your sessions with the kids. And then you will observe how they actually perform in them. And usually when you learn something, it's because your assumption is wrong. Then you would try to adjust your assumptions to fit the reality. So I think it's a pretty good framework to handle your tests. And there are a lot of frustrations when you do the playtest. But I would like to also explain that there are two types of frustration. One type is actually expected because when you make a game, you are giving the players a challenge. And it is okay to let them fail the challenge sometimes, because when you fail the challenge and then you come back to it and you succeed, then it's kind of a bigger accomplishment than you just did something and then did something correctly. So be aware of the type of failures that your playtesters are having, and perhaps some of them are correct. So how to do this? You actually need to have a core vision of your game, like the kind of experience that you are crafting for the players, and you would validate the behaviors against your vision, not the immediate response of the players. And sometimes if you want to make a difficult game, then failures are really often. Of course, the other side is just really simple frustration because your game is not clear enough. But yeah, I'm sure you would all notice it. So let me share some of the stories that we have done. This game, as I have told before, you just use your arms, like pull it up, pull it down, and then it's very simple to play. But all of our playtesters jump when they see this widget. So there are two big ways that we can solve it. One is to add a lot of tutorials and just tell them you don't jump, you use your hands up and down. But one thing is listen to your players, listen to what the game is telling you, and we make jump activated widgets. This is the inspiration and that is the execution. And we put it like the very first levels so that the players, when they jump spontaneously, it actually gives them the correct feedback. They actually go through the level correctly. And after that, we will introduce this kind of levels back to them, and then hopefully they would distinguish them in two ways. But ultimately, we somehow get some new levels, designs, and new components to work with. And fine motor skills is quite a common issue when we play with the players. In this level, you would like do the hands like this way, and then the fan will just blow air and then blow the cookies around. And the cookies always just fly straight through because the kids won't know when they should stop the hands and just let the cookie roll naturally. So we changed the level design to have a bump, and even if they like do it full force, they will never get the cookies around, and you have to wait for the platform to come down to bridge the gap before it actually can roll into the box. So these are some of the observations that we have done when playtesting with the kids. So you might ask, what happens after this? Here is the full timeline of our game. So we have done the prototype as early as January, and then we used 4 weeks to prove that it is not working. And then we pivoted into a new prototype with this like new puzzle mechanics. It proves to be all right, and then we further polish it until we have an alpha build that is mostly every mechanics that we think will be in the game. And then we submit it to Sesame Street, and they are really nice people, and they care about the game. So they actually they found 20-something small kids from their side in the USA, and then playtest to see whether the kids like it or not before they actually greenlight this project. So kudos to them. After that, we spent 4 more weeks to continue polish on the game until we say it is feature complete. So at that time, all the UI and then all the game flow is already done. It's basically a full game at that moment, and then we call it feature complete. So after that, by the rules, we can't just add new features to the game. And then we do frantic polishing, adding the voiceover. Oh, by the way, we let them take the voiceover after the alpha stage because it's mostly ready, right? And then we also do a lot of graphics, and then we add the real sound effect, replace the old one, the placeholder ones, and then we polish on the visual effects, like all kinds of production value that you can really stuff it into a really good package. And then we have a release candidate. At this point, the difficulty is already done. The flow, all of them is really done correctly. And then we do optimization and bug fixing. And it is at this stage where we have a game that we can call shippable. So we let the marketing help us do all the teaser, the trailer, video that you're seeing, and then like banner, all the stuff. And it finally launched in July. So it's quite a lot of people who make this happen. But in the end, the result is pretty good. The audience, well, are happy about it. The parents are happy that last minute the kids were still fighting over the toys, and then next minute when they play this, they actually cooperate, and then they talk together, like really nice experience for them. And then for younger kids, it may be the first ever game that they play. So I'm really grateful to have this experience, and I hope to make something like this again in the future. But what I want to tell you today is try to play test with real players. It would really help to make the game right that suits the audience that you want to serve, and do it early and try to find the cheapest way to attain this, because if I've done this the other way around, then it would be wasted effort if that game mechanics is not fun by itself. So I hope it is be some use of you today, and this is about the end of our presentation.